I lost my mom when I was 6.5 years old to chronic myeloid leukemia. And by the time I was 14 years old, I was being molested repeatedly by my uncle, who was a deacon in the church. This went on for over 15 years. So I grew up angry. I grew up drinking. I grew up smoking. I grew up rebellious, just wanting to make everyone else feel the pain that I was going through. And eventually, later on down the line, I had my second child who was diagnosed with autism. And I was faced with doctors telling me he would never talk. He would never come out of pull-ups. He would have to live on medication all of his life. He would have seizures for the rest of his life. And during that time, I began crying out to God, and I said, God, I can't do this anymore. And so God had me to begin dealing with me. So I began dealing with the molestation. I began dealing with dropping out of school. I began dealing with feeling like a failure. I began dealing with feeling like the ugliest person in the room. I began dealing with me, and that's how Tears of Silence came about. And once I got over the tears of being silent, I had my joy back, because I gave it all to God. I gave it to Him, and He dealt with it all. And then came a broken marriage with hidden secrets. And a broken marriage with hidden secrets steps into relationships, singleness, and marriages all over the world. Because if the truth be told, we all take secrets into something. The only secret that I took into my marriage with my husband was that I only married because my grandmother told me no one would ever want me, because there were too many men that had ran up in me. Wow. And with me hearing that from her, I was just determined, I'm going to find someone. They're going to love me, and they're going to take me as their own, and they're going to marry me. And once I got married and I realized how hard it was, it just began to take a toll on me. And so I told my husband why I got married. And so after having that secret release, although this book is not technically about me, it's about marriages all over the world, I began seeing life in my marriage. And I must say, for 10 years of being with him, the first 5 years of my marriage was horrible, because it was all about me. And I didn't want to get over, like she said, I didn't want to tame my tongue. What I wanted to say was going to be heard. But I want to share with you a piece of spoken word that Janelle said during her night at the open mic night. Since this was the place, I figured I'd say that. And she began dealing and getting over her past relationship from her ex-boyfriend. She says, when I met him, it felt as though his eyes had pierced through my soul down to the deepest part of me that no other man had been able to reach. Closing my eyes, I tried to escape from this feeling, but it felt so good that I had to let him in. But then, I allowed him to get too close. He unlocked places that I had hidden to make me appear strong. And once I realized he had my heart in his hands, he squeezed it tighter and tighter until I flatlined. I had no heartbeat. I could no longer breathe. It was not a physical touch, but his words were sharper than a martial arts sword. He began to desecrate me with his words, and it snatched away my self-esteem like the breath that gives me life. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. His words were suffocating me. Please, stop. The screams and name-calling beat me in my face as if I were in a boxing ring. Left hook, right hook, uppercut, I was knocked out. His words knocked me down until I had low self-esteem. She paused and let out a gasp. Now I must redeem myself to get back to where I used to be. I began loving me again, refilling my thirst for attention with the love of God and the way He saw me. I embraced His unconditional love, knowing that He could never hurt me, but that He would heal the wounds that had been inflicted by a man who had yet to find himself. You see, although He hurt me, He taught me how to pray, even when His words cut me. He taught me how to be strong in the midst of the tears. So young man, thank you, because you taught me to never allow another man to tear me down because of his own insecurities. Today is the mental and emotional depth of you. In the midst of all the pain, I gained a new definition of me, not the definition from you. I am no longer pitiful. I am powerful. I am strong. I am beautiful. I am confident. I am bold. I am free. I am His, Jesus, and He is mine. And I understand that His love will never hurt me.
That's right.
And so, this book is not about the Proverbs 31 woman that we always hear about. This book is about the 1 Peter 3 woman who has to live the life of Christ before her husband, that he may be won over, not by anyone saying a word, but just by the way she lives. And because she lives that life, in the end, it's so powerful, because it brings him to his knees, and it finally allows him to see that it is Jesus that he needed, not just the marriage itself where he took in secrets. Thank you so much. I am Lakisha.